Wednesday morning, and normally we'd be shaping up for an Ignite Cup game in the NBL, but it's the FIBA window, which means no NBL action, but still plenty of content coming towards you. NBL Now, brought to you by Code Sport, is here today and for the rest of this week, and we're taking the opportunity to review the teams and the first 10 rounds of the season. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of doing it with Mark Worthington for Perth and Illawarra. Today, I'm Kelsey Brown, and I'm doing it with Jason Cadee for his Adelaide 36ers. Very excited to break this one down with you, Jace. I have an initial question. Anything that's fascinated you most about this season?
Are we talking in general now or just about Adelaide?
No, general. You can do general. Go for it.
I think for me, it's probably surprised a lot of us. I think a lot of us thought that we wouldn't have a couple of breakaway teams already. I think we thought it would be kind of really to and fro because of the lineups we've seen. But what we've seen is a lot of teams who are, I want to use the word disjointed, but I use it in the term of I think they're still trying to figure out who they are and what they are. And where Melbourne United, it's almost like they've come in and they know exactly who they are, what they're trying to be, and they've got their kind of skip ahead from everyone else. And then Adelaide not far behind them as well. So it's been interesting to see teams figuring it out on the fly.
You talk about your Adelaide 36ers. You spent last year there. You retired there at the end of the season. Where are you living now? Are you back in Sydney?
I'm back in Sydney, enjoying home time. It's been weird being back in home, even though my parents don't live here anymore. So the last time I lived here, they lived here. So they're up on the Gold Coast. But I have enjoyed settling back into Sydney lifestyle. It's definitely been different, but it's nice that I've lived here before. It's an easy place to settle back into.
Well, I want to ask about the Adelaide 36ers. So they're sitting second on the ladder. We've got a handful of questions we want to ask you around their season and to review it so far. Let's start with what you've liked about the 36ers. Plenty to like. Like I said, they're second on the ladder. But what stands out for you as the positives?
That exactly. I think for the first time in a long time, probably, Adelaide is sitting where maybe people had them written down to be given their roster build. And obviously, what we have seen is them trying to figure it out on the fly. I think they're still one of the teams trying to figure it out, but they've broken away where they've currently 11-3, and they've got a really great record and they've got wins on the board. So I think that's a massive win for Mike and the group, because they are still in a place where they are trying to figure it out. You can see in some of their game night subs and who they're starting, who's coming off the bench. And so I think for them as a group, you'd be stoked going into the free break with where they are, and they've got so much, I guess, room to grow. And I think they need to grow if they're going to win it all.
Now, this one isn't on the list, so I'm throwing you a little bit of a curveball, and I was going to do it at the end, but you mentioned a starter, so I have to do it now. We've seen so many different starting lineups from Mike Wells in this season. If Jason Cadee was the coach of the 36ers, who is your starting lineup? Is it DJ, Isaac White, Kenyon, Troy Brown Jr.? Talk to me.
Yeah, look, he's definitely trying to figure it out. And funnily enough, I actually spoke to DJ the week before he actually came off the bench. And with the idea, I knew there was an import possibly coming in soon. I didn't know how soon, but I said to him, with the makeup of their group, like last year for me, I always was a guy who looked to get DJ going. So I would try and run stuff for him where I knew he liked the ball. They don't necessarily have that guy this year. They've got a lot of guys who can get stuff done, and they try and find a way, and they obviously gear everything to Bryce. And so with how Mike was subbing, DJ was coming off at the 6-minute mark every quarter in the first quarter. He would come back late in the quarter. I kind of spoke to DJ, said, DJ, listen, this isn't a talent thing. This is just timing who the team has. I said, I think you'd be better off asking to come off the bench. Now, they ended up having a discussion separate to me and him, but I just thought it might have helped him as a basketball player. You could see that he hasn't been probably putting up the numbers we'd expect. And so part of me was thinking that it would give him more of a rhythm, and it possibly gives them more of a chance to rest Bryce, because you've got DJ fresh coming in the back end of the first. From there, you figure it out. But to answer your question, I actually would stick with that. I think ultimately Flynn and Bryce, and then I would definitely go with Troy Brown Jr. out of the back. I think they brought him in. They need him. So I think coming out of this break, you start him. And then obviously you got Cheatham and Isaac, who have been doing a fantastic job, and that'd be my starting five.
Love it. Always interested in the juicy ones like that, because sometimes we don't know what's happening in clubland, and you would have way more insight than maybe someone like I do. What needs to change in the second half of the season for the 36ers? Plenty has gone right, but anything that needs to change?
I think the DJ situation is one. Like, for me, as I said, I actually, as a person, as a basketball, I feel DJ can really thrive in that position this year, given their makeup of their group. But I also don't think him playing 16 or 17 minutes is the answer for them if they're going to win it all. So we've seen when they played Southeast, they needed his influence heavily, and because that's what he can do on a night-to-night basis, but it was done in 21, 22 minutes. So I just think they've got room to play with things, but I think ultimately when it comes down to it, Mike has to decide on who his 8 guys are that are going to be playing the bigger minutes. It's nice to have the luxury to have 9, 10, and 11, sure, but we all know when it gets down to those final situations, who's his 8, and I think he needs to have, especially a guy like DJ coming into that back end of the year, feeling good about himself, because going through this as a player, especially when he hasn't done it for a few years, can be tough and something to adjust to.
Absolutely. It's interesting you talk about tightening the rotations. I asked Andrew Gaze if Adelaide look like they now have too much depth. It seems sometimes difficult to know who to get out there and how much time to give them. So definitely something for Mike Wells to figure out. Our most improved player for the Adelaide 36ers, there's been 10 rounds, plenty of names that could be tossed up for this one. Most improved for you?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I had Flynn Cameron down as one for the NBL. And so I think Flynn has done a very good job, but I'm actually going to give Isaac White. I think Isaac White has come in and played a role, especially in this first part of the year, that's really helped them win games. Just energy. They've been able to rely on him to be a backup ball handler. They don't have a natural point guard, so he's been able to take on that role. So there's been a few guys on their list that 100% could get this, just given their roles and their increase in roles this year with Adelaide. But I think Isaac's played a pretty pivotal role this year so far for them, which helps them kind of play with different lineups.
He's been a bit of a journeyman. It's nice to see him sort of find a home and really thrive in that. He's getting a lot more minutes now. Team MVP. Now, I know this one's probably going to be pretty obvious because he's the league MVP at the moment. He should be number one in Derek Rucker's top 15 that comes out on Thursday, let me remind you. But so team MVP, you can tell me the name, but maybe off the back of it, if it wasn't Bryce, who's up there? Because you've got Cheatham, Humphreys. Where do you sit with number 2?
Yeah, so Bryce is definitely it. And if Derek doesn't put him at number 1 on the list, then he's clearly just taking an absolute piss. But you're right, number 2, and I think it's probably now it could be a tie between Cheatham and Isaac. I think 2 different reasons. Isaac is playing so well off Bryce. Like, Isaac's a great, like, I played with Isaac for 3 or 4 seasons now over the course of his journey. He's got a great feel of playing out of pick and rolls and being able to be in the right spots. And so he was someone, and he's got great hands. So he's someone I could always rely on throwing it in different areas. Normally not above the ring. He doesn't like catching lobs. But outside of that, he had a great feel for where to play. And the other night, Bryce, I think he had 11 or 12 assists. 6 or 7 of them were probably to Isaac. And so I think him figuring out that makes Bryce's life easier, and it allows their team to function. But then you've got a guy like Zylan, who is just actually doing bits of everything. He's rebounding the ball. He's now started to score the ball, which is, I think, an area he needs to focus on for their group because he can score the ball. And he's just been a connector piece to everyone. And so it can't be underestimated, his value in that group and helping it tick over. But Isaac also being able to quickly adjust to playing off Bryce, I think, is a big reason why right now they're second.
I can't brush over Bryce. He's the best player in the league at the moment. So I do want to ask you, is this the version of Bryce that you expected coming to the 36ers? Biggest signing of the offseason. We couldn't believe it happened. I audibly gasped when I saw it land on my social media. He's averaging 3 more assists per game. He's up around the 7 assist mark per game than to what he produced at the Wildcats. Is this what you were expecting from Bryce?
I mean, it's hard to say no or yes, because every time you expect something from Bryce, he over-delivers on us. So The one thing I will say though is changing clubs isn't easy, especially when you've been somewhere for so long and he's been ever since he's landed in the country. He's been in Perth. That's the only environment he truly knows. So I would say like it's pretty impressive to slide into a new city, new program, new teammates, and just not as you just pointed out, not even pick up where you left off, increase what you've been doing, which is hard to do when you've done so much. So I think he's probably overachieved. If he could have delivered a little bit less, and you would have said he's been spot on. So I think he'd be pretty wrapped. And I think once again, I think the connection him and Mike have probably helps because they've known each other for a while. And from all reports, Bryce is a big leader in why that change room is maybe not as toxic or crazy as it was last year, because the leader of their group is so positive and has such a big input on the NBL that how can you not follow that?
Yeah, if Bryce led, I would follow, and I'm sure a lot of people want to do the same thing. And he seems like an incredibly calm influence as well. It's one of those things that I watch Bryce and I'm really drawn to his level of calmness, chillness. He doesn't ever feel overawed on a court. I mean, we saw those scenes, but even that, like an unbelievable season from Bryce so far, and just he was already one of my favorites, definitely one now. Okay, this is your segment. This is the one for you. Step up for step one. We've got a new underwear partner. You're the head of it all. Let's talk about who needs to step up in the second half of this season for the Adelaide 36ers.
I think it's Nick Rakocevic. Like, he's come in, and you forget he's an import, obviously. And he's come in. Now, we can say to replace Trez, but it's just to replace that spot, because obviously Trez's impact basketball-wise, he was very good. So, but I think for Nick, we started to see more of it the last few weeks, and I don't know if that's just he's becoming more comfortable. He's starting to figure out the league, but ultimately, I think they need that third piece with Zylan and Isaac to bring something different and just help things tick over if one of them is struggling. And I think he's the piece that can really take him to another level. We haven't seen enough yet of Troy Brown Jr. I tend to think he's going to be very, very good when he finds his feet. He just gives me that impression of natural feel and like he can really get things done. But I think Nick is a guy for that group that, once again, all reports, great guy. I think we've started to see a little bit more. But if they're going to win it all, I think he'll play a pretty big piece in being one of those 8 guys that can really tick over in many different ways.
You've been in the league for a long time, and you've just mentioned 2 imports coming into the league and probably struggling to find their feet in the early parts of their introduction to NBL. Is it tough? Have you heard from imports that it's hard to come to the NBL and actually dominate initially?
Well, I think I've seen it. Like, I think a lot of guys sometimes get over here with the idea they'll just come, play really well, dominate, and leave. And it's just not that type of place. Like, there's very few that actually do that. There's some that excel, obviously, but I think it's one of those things. And you got to remember, times are changing at the moment too, with these younger guys and how college now works. Like, a lot of the guys that were coming through as Americans per se, they'd done 4 years of college at the same school because you can't change. So you got to stick it out. If you don't like it, you just leave and go somewhere else. So there's so many things changing in the world that it's also going to affect what you're getting coming out of college and all these different systems. So it's been very interesting, but we've obviously seen a lot of change. And for Adelaide, their change was a little bit different with what happened with Trez in the preseason in China and so on. So they've kind of made changes necessary, and Troy Brown Jr. was the last piece of what they think fits their puzzle. So I think for them as a group, they haven't had that kind of change, which maybe other groups have gone through where they've wanted to remove pieces and add new pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. Ladder prediction. At the end of this season, are they walking away at the top of the standings, or where are they sitting for you?
I think they'll finish second. I think United still will finish first. I just think they know who they are right now, and I think that'll help them. Normally they do go on a big away journey though through that January Oz Open period. I think Adelaide still have a lot of learning, and they didn't beat United. They lost to United in that one game, even though they had control of it. They lost to Sydney. So I think Adelaide need to still show that they can beat a United and those kind of things. And I think that'll go great for them in the back end of the year. So I'm pretty comfortable with them finishing in the top two, which I think for them, they'd be pretty stoked going into finals being second on the ladder.
They play each other on December 12 in Adelaide. Who do you think walks away with that one?
I feel like Adelaide at home, right?
Come on.
Adelaide at home, I would like to think they'd be pretty confident, but Melbourne have been really good, so it's hard. But if they're going to win against Melbourne, I think that'd be the game for them to take care of and once again give them a big confidence boost.
That has to be the one. Okay, finally, we need a report card score. Yesterday, we had Perth that was given a B by Mark Worthington. Illawarra was given a D. I'm interested to see whether you're generous or harsh. Where are Adelaide sitting for you on the report card?
Well, I don't think you can be harsh to a team that's sitting where they are, in the league like they are. So I'd actually give them an A. Like, I think at the end of the day, United's probably an A+. Whoever does that, but United are probably the A+ right now, and I think Adelaide are an A. They're winning games, they're getting things done, they're still evolving, and they've won some close ones, they've had some blowouts, so I think an A is pretty reasonable where they sit, and it's kind of in their hands where they go this back half of the year, which is exciting for them as a club.
As always, Jace, I love sitting down with you. Thank you so much for your time. And a reminder for everyone at home, we mentioned the top 15 drops on Thursday. There's plenty more content coming out this week from NBL Media. We've got Chris Anstey on. We'll have Cam Glidden breaking down New Zealand. There'll be plenty of Boomers and Tall Blacks chat as well as we have the game coming up on Friday. But stick around and make sure you listen into the NBL Now. It's brought to you by codesports.com.au. Plenty more to come this week. We hope you've enjoyed this episode.